Things took a dark turn when protesters in Germiston on the East Rand took the law into their own hands. They forced their way onto private properties and started evicting people, handing them over to police, even those with documents to be in the country. Reporter Aviwe Mtila was on the ground to get a real-time account of how things unfolded.
Yet again, another one is being taken by the residents. Another foreign national we suspect being taken by the residents. He's saying that children have been hurt. In fact, we see two young girls. One is bloody. He's saying that his children have been hurt. They're with their mother. Here, they're crying, little girls. Who's that, man? Mama, what's the going on? Mama just walks. The lady is walking with her two younger daughters, I would suspect, as well as a teenage boy. The father was escorted in a rough manner by the scruff of his neck, essentially, by some of these people on the ground here, who of course still continue fury in the streets of Germiston as they go house to house. The police are now basically watching on and receiving the foreign nationals, whether documented or undocumented, from the residents of Ekurhuleni here as they're going in, essentially smoking them out, whether they have young children, whether it is women, whether it's men. There is no barriers or no stop to where they go themselves. Seems to have suffered some injuries here on his shoulder there. That will show you what is happening. Okay, sir. Sorry, Baba, are you South African citizen?
No, I'm a Zambian. I've got my papers.
He's a Zambian who has his papers. He's saying that the people are going inside his house. It's only now that the authorities and the police are seemingly moving into one of these houses. We're going to come a bit closer. That gentleman says he's a Zambian citizen. He owns a house here. He's saying that the people are moving into his house here. Police now moving closer, but of course, the bulk of the people still outside here, hundreds in Germiston, who say they are tired of undocumented foreign nationals living among them. But at this stage, Gareth, as you've seen, whether you are documented, whether you are undocumented.
Good evening. I want to say this is the aftermath of 30 June 2026. There's xenophobia that it can be clearly understood as Afrophobia. It's a message to President CYRIL Ramaphosa. If CYRIL Ramaphosa listened to God, the situation that he finds himself in today was going to be different. If all African leaders were humble enough to listen to God, what is happening in Africa today was going to be avoided. I want to actually read an email that I wrote to President Ramaphosa, warning him in a vision that I had, where I warned Ramaphosa that I dreamt the former president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, in your place, that he was driving a heavy truck and he was alone. He did not need to do what, to have a driver. So in this vision, I actually said, Ramaphosa, you are going to find yourself in this situation where you'll be driving a heavy truck alone, a long distance one. So today, I'll actually let me just speak. I'll actually put this this screenshot on the what on the beginning of this interview. So I want to say that when I was actually writing, I actually said, "Dear President Cyril Ramaphosa, how are you? I hope you have now read the books and the prophetical letter of 1st December 2022. This prophetical letter of 1st December 2022 on page 8, on page 12 of volume 2 of the Roadmap to Economical Freedom. This is the book that I gave to Ramaphosa that I'm referring to. This book I saved to Ramaphosa in September 2025 when I actually requested to meet him for me to deliver this book. Then I received no reply. Then the following month I had to take it in November. I saved these books, 3 of them, to Cyril Ramaphosa. The first volume was this one, President Ibrahim Traoré, the Roadmap to Economical Freedom. And this one was the Roadmap to Economical Freedom, President Cyril Ramaphosa, imperialism, War on Imperialism, Zondo and Mlanga Cross Current. This is the book that I wrote to Ramaphosa, expressing God's view. I want to read about what I wrote inside here, few things. Then I said, I had a revelation this night of 24th January 2026 at about 3 o'clock before morning regarding late President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda driving a heavy truck, long distance truck, him being considered to have died. I saw him alone and he does not need a co-driver. God speaks in parables. I asked for Ramaphosa to call me to interpret this vision, but he did not want to call me. But what is happening today, I see the xenophobia that President Ramaphosa is carrying a heavy load. I'll also attach the pictures of Mtagatela Pagat whatsoever, this gentleman who is a Zulu gentleman trying to parade with Ramaphosa as though it's a state reconciliation parade. Whilst what is happening is quite different on the ground. I would have loved that if President Ramaphosa was serious to listen to God, instead of having Mtagatela Mpagat, whosoever the name, you're supposed to sit down with Ibrahim Traoré. This xenophobia by now was going to be history. Africa is divided not because it needs to be divided on tribalism. These tribal fights that Ramaphosa gives him an extra load, it is a way of his exit out of power, because he knows that the Zulus, they are pushing on tribalism in the guise of fighting illegal immigrants, whilst even taking those who are legally documented, even just because Changanis, yabulabula Changana, Vagaina. My mother, she's a Tsonga, I'm a Changan, and if a person says South Africa is not my home, I think that person might be wrong. It is because of these colonial masters' borders that makes South Africa to be not my home. Also, that makes Zambia, even if I'm born in Zambia, it doesn't make my home too. Even if I'm not born, my father is from Zimbabwe, does not make Zimbabwe home. But where do I belong? I belong in any of these three countries because my parents, they come from all these three countries. They come from South Africa. I'm born in Zambia. Because of birth, I'm there. But on my reg number, they'll say Zimbabwe. On my ID, my father's birthplace is Zimbabwe. When I'm here, I will be considered a foreigner. That cannot work. If you can see the confusion of my identity, it makes me understand the reason why Africa must unite. And right now, Mpagala, is it Mpagat whatsoever, is a person that is sowing the seed of confusion. And because this person is sowing the seed of confusion, in addition, Jacinta Zuma, is it Ngobezi Zuma? She's the one in the forefront giving you direction, President Ramaphosa, and you are responding to that ultimatum. Whereas you are failing to respond to the ultimatum that God gives you. I warned you about Palapala through this book and through those visions, and today these things are becoming a reality. You are petitioning against Parliament to remove your immune system so that you are under investigation because of the money that was found under the couch. So I want to appeal to you and to Africa at large to say rejecting God's revelations and dreams, they will never, never, never give you peace. If you live, you'll be in prison. If you are going to avoid prison, you'll die early. As God warns, He does not respect any person. And when I'm required to speak, I do not worry about the outcome of my speech because I know that the God that I'm speaking for, He handles every situation in my life. I wrote in this book that I saved to your office and you confirmed through an email that I'll attach to this video. Then in this email, you actually confirmed the recipient of these books. So I'm actually reminding you of what I wrote in this volume 2. I won't talk about volume 1. I won't read from volume 3. I gave one of the Home Affairs officials when he was asking for my books. I said, let me just give you, even if it's a first copy, I don't usually give out, but let me give it to you because I have no option. You have to read. So I'm remaining with 2 original copies. But I want to say that the volume 3, I called for a United States of Africa with one president, with one parliament, with one army, with one bank, with one currency, one people. All this division of saying people are running away from African country, running for greener pastures in South Africa, they are a total lie. I remember when I came to buy my first truck here during Levy Patrick Manawasa, the kwacha was more stronger than rand. Few years ago here, 3 or 2 years ago back, the kwacha was almost equal. Zambian kwacha was almost equal with rand. Today, the difference with kwacha is minimal. The currency back home is stronger. I can sustain myself. But why these other countries that are near South Africa, we talk of Mozambique, you talk about Zimbabwe, their currencies are like trash in the dustbin. It is because of this dividing to the colonial masters that make Zimbabwean to come here to South Africa, that make Mozambican to come here in South Africa. But the difference is the same. There are no borders. And those people who are doing much and much to say you create borders. There are no borders. The borders are just near the road. That's where you put the fence. You cannot fence the whole country. It's a lie. So why should we be divided as African because of borders that were proposed in 1884 Berlin Conference by the Europe? They removed family marriages. They removed chiefs. They removed just as Africa to be united, they had to divide us so that they meet us and divide, giving different political playground. So CYRIL Ramaphosa, South Africa is the hub where the entry of all indoctrination starts from South Africa. Religion also entered from South Africa here. Dr. Livingstone, who actually came to colonize Zambia. I want to tell you to say, as much as I'm speaking right now, I'm in a pain because you, CYRIL Ramaphosa, God has spoken in many visions and dreams that I've written to you. You are second now of those that are warned by God from Hakainde Chilema. Hakainde Chilema have written 12 volumes of books. To you, I've given you 3, which I've addressed to President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. As the president of Africa, what is it that stops you, CYRIL Ramaphosa, to work hand in hand with Ibrahim Traoré? If you had joined hand in hand with Ibrahim Traoré, this impeachment, that is a heavy load for you in parliament. It's only you who is faced impeachment in parliament. So this dream has found its fulfillment. Let me read some few things from what I wrote in this book. Page 5. I warned you to say, the death of Zambia's 6 presidents are not only national tragedies, they are prophetical signs to the entire continent. God has given me these visions not to magnify myself, but to bear witness that Africa stands at crossroads. My appeal to you, President CYRIL Ramaphosa, you have influence, which I'll refer to this in these writings. This influence calls upon you to lead out in uniting Africa. The way you are trying to talk with Mutakatela Mpagat does not help anything. You are not barring anything. They're outering to say every Thursday they'll continue having protest until every foreigner leaves South Africa. Can we do the same in all our countries to remove South African from there? Will Africa unite under such evil influence? Jacinta Ngobezi Zuma, who is funded by the same white people you are feeding with on the same table, thinking that you are in an alliance. What alliance do you have? Listen to this. I said, President Ramaphosa, you are called upon to lead the nation of Africa to form a United States of Africa. As blood of these fallen leaders cries out, the Solomon Mahlangu, who vowed to say is not the only soldier that is standing for Africa. And today we are in a situation where everyone that speak against the West, they eliminate him. Every leader that reject their influence, they kill him. Even when I was arrested for trespass at UN, how can a person be arrested at UNHCR? United Nations High Commission for Refugees for trespass, whilst I'm a refugee? How is it that I'm representing myself at the High Court? Then the Magistrate Court, they say, no, 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 you can't represent yourself. Then they forge papers of my mental illness because I'm speaking the truth. Schizophrenia is always labeled against those that speaks to kings, those that speaks to presidents. I know this video, it won't go viral, but everyone that will read this video, may you share it with Ramaphosa. And I'll take it to the email for Ramaphosa to listen to it. Because I want justice to prevail. Right now, the political scenario is out of hand for Ramaphosa, and he doesn't see it. They are parading with the people of the enemies of Africa so that they can twist it. Here is the thing. I said, if Africa remains divided, our leaders will continue to be assassinated, supported, and silenced by extremely powers. But if Africa unites politically, economically, and spiritually, no foreign hand will be able to detect our destiny or steal our inheritance. So when I'm speaking this, if Ramaphosa did not spend his time for BRICS, for anything, he spent his time to unite Africa, all these xenophobia matches were not going to be called for. Yeah, let me proceed by reading the prophetical warnings. This is the prophetical call for South Africa. President Cyril Ramaphosa unite that Africa may live and depend on the land and on natural resources in the creation of self-skilled employment and business. Right now, regarding the illegal foreigners and regarding the cry by Jacinta Zuma that we are actually getting their employment. Those people are selling Malawians. They are selling magwinya in the street. Those are fritters or vitumbua in our Zambian language. Here they are called magwinya. So are they taking employment for any South African for selling eggs in the street? The Zimbabweans that are selling brooms door to door, are they taking anyone's employment? The Ethiopians that have shops, are they taking anyone's employment? Why can't you tell the Zambian the truth that the monies these people invest in these businesses, they are funded by UN, because UN takes the monies from our own country that have been donated to this UN, and the government also benefit from the donation from our country every month. This must be truth that can address the hatred that is aimed against refugees and foreign nationals. I'm from Zambia, and I know what I'm speaking about. I had a tenant. This tenant from Rwanda, a refugee, we are wondering how is he successful in the shop where we could not even imagine how much profit he's making. And we are so inquisitive, thinking that he's stealing. We came to understand when we are refugees here. So this is the reason why a person from a foreign country may not fall in business, because there's a United Nations that support the business whenever if there's a failure in business or his goods are stolen in the shop. Within 3 days, we find that the shop changes, or within 1 week, the shop will be full again. No matter how many times they will steal for that tenant of mine, Kazungu by name. To those who are in Komboka, they know the gentleman I'm talking about. But I want to say that today I understand the Rwandans. They have businesses all over Lusaka, all over all the towns, but no one fights them the way South Africans they're fighting. Because South Africans, they are funded by these grants. They want to eat bread and sleep until they wait for the next month for a grant. And when they see that that grant is not enough, then they say, foreigners, they are driving cars, you must leave your cars. I want to say this. President Ramaphosa, bring this thing to a final end by calling for a United States of Africa. Simple. By uniting right now before your petition is decided, can you meet Ibrahim Traoré? That's my appeal. Can you agree to redeem Africa from the hatred that is created by the white monopoly? I want to speak from my view. This is my opinion. You can penalize me. You can condemn me. When I heard about UN, when they came here for a cohesion meeting in our place, I was the only refugee family who had the refugee status, ID card. The rest were asylum seekers from other towns around. But in this location, I was the only one. And when they came here, they said, no, we want you to integrate. We come here for cohesion integration, but we are appealing to those asylum seekers who are rejected or who are at SCRA. They must take an opportunity for voluntary repatriation to go back home. And when the voluntary repatriation failed, what happens? What happens? There's a xenophobia, which they mentioned in that meeting to say, oh, the South Africans are angry because they think that you are taking their employment and so forth. So you better even find the chance to get IDs here for South Africa. How and how? So now, I want to say that my death and my arrest, my mental allegation comes from United Nations High Commission because my eyes are opened. I know what is happening, and they don't want me to exist. This xenophobia is caused by United Nations. And this xenophobia will not end as long as United Nations benefits from refugees that are persecuted, because that's when they receive funding. When there's no funding coming from America, there's no funding coming from Britain, xenophobia starts. In my petition in 2020, I told you, CYRIL Ramaphosa, I'm not speaking something from you. I told you to say, let UN be closed. Let refugees go to camps. This will bring an end to all this nonsense. Because South Africans, they think that when there's no refugees, there's no foreigners, then they'll be all right. Remove all the foreigners, you'll see that they'll eat and drink water. They'll eat even grass. Why is it that we want to nurse things that are confusing us? We need to look around and try to find fault to foreigners who are not the cause of poverty in South Africa. This is funded crusade to make sure that Africa remains divided. As long as South Africa is chasing out Malawans, there will be no Malawian who is going to approve any relationship with South Africa. If South Africa is chasing away people from Mozambique, Mozambique will remain enemies with South African. This is an enmity that is being brewed and maintained by you meeting all these Dudula. According to democracy, you think talking will make you to be popular, or they'll protect? They are using that opportunity to blackmail you. Why should you meet with people who are causing chaos in the country? Privately so. Why can't you address them? You are president. This shows that democracy, let's go back to chiefdom. Why is Vatican not changing their pope every 5 years? They only remove the pope when he dies. Why can't Africa have one single president? We remove that president. When he dies, we should concentrate on digging our raw materials, natural resources, copper, gold, and everything, oil, and supply them, the white people, rather than giving them these mines to run for themselves and to you see the tracks, because of xenophobia, the tracks that were blocked. There are more than, I don't know how many thousands, maybe I can say thousands and thousands, maybe even 15,000 tracks. Whose benefit that these trucks are loading all our natural resources from Africa to Europe? What are we benefiting? We are remaining poorer and poorer and poorer every day. President Ramaphosa, if you have ears, listen to me. I'll come back again to you. Let me read perhaps a final quote from this book that I wrote to you. Perhaps you are not able to read it because of some busy, because you have a heavy load. On page 8, I said, I saw on September 7, 2025, the fall of South Africa's ANC unless it embraces a divine strategy. In a vision, the ANC survival depended not on clinging to power, but to handling authority to the EFF for 2 terms. Only then could it return for another 2 terms, preserving balance, stability, and liberation legacy. But this is not just a South African struggle. As long as Traoré rises as a liberator in Burkina Faso, every African nation must raise its own liberators. The blood of Mahlangu, Sankara, Lumumba, and countless others demands the African unity. South Africa, as Africa's economical hub, must join hands with Traoré and the resistance movements in Mali, Niger, and beyond to lay a foundation for a United States of Africa. Prophetical roadmap for Africa. I want to end here by saying, CYRIL Ramaphosa, it's time now that it's either you go to President Ibrahim Traoré and agree and declare that this country is in the hands of Burkina Faso as our partner, then you save yourself the heavy load that you are carrying. You save yourself imprisonment through Mutlanga Commission, Palapala petition. The fight that you have between EFF and ANC is uncalled for. It's political. I wrote, and I've been referring to that, to say EFF will be used on page, I think, let me just finalize on that one because it's of vital importance. This letter I'm just quoting is from it's on my Facebook, 1st December 2022, where I said, His Dear Excellent President CYRIL Ramaphosa, how are you? I'm sure you and the former President Zuma have a tough time ahead of you. Immediately, you, CYRIL Ramaphosa, they bring you down. The issue on Zuma, it will revive again. But if you hand over power to EFF, you'll be safe. You enjoy the labor of your hand. If you hand over your unit with the Ibrahim Traoré, all this trauma and stress will disappear. So the truth is that you both rejected warning that led me to be arrested at UNHCR offices in Brooklyn, Pretoria for trespass at UN offices on 14th 14th May 2021. This came after I submitted a petition in August 2020 for protection against persecution in the country of Islam, and you ignored my appeal, and you gave me to be accused of mental illness because of visions and dreams that speaks the future before it sprang forth. My email account has been hacked, and all my correspondence, starting with then President Jacob Zuma in regard to my request to pray for former President Nelson Mandela in 2013. I warned former President Jacob Zuma of his arrest and the current situation that there is no peace in his going. I made the same warning to you and asked you to allow me to pray for victims of COVID-19 in March 2020 if they existed as the media reported. I had doubt on COVID-19 because I knew that it was a project to make us suffer economically. The request for my email. Let me just go to where I want to read. I said, I know that you don't know your enemies. On page 14 are my enemies, in the sense that the enemies of every African leader, Pan-Africanist, they are opposed to true worship. They are opposed to true worship based on revelation against the Antichrist. This is because visions expose their evil plans against humanity. Today, EFF President Julius Malema, can be used to bring down both you and Zuma. When he is done with everyone else, when he's done with everyone else who is defending South African natural resources, the frog that has seen Zambian leaders down to their graves before time will also bring the South African hopeful incoming president, Julius Malema, down too. I don't know how, but it can be through assassination or corruption allegation until they bring a person who will sell South Africa assets in terms of natural resources or precious stones and call for a partnership in creation of globalization against God's agenda. I'm praying for Malema not to fail to seek God's face in his call for a United States of Africa, and for him to see you as a brother. I end here, page 14. Why did God reveal that to me? This is a roadmap for South Africa. Those who are calling for xenophobia against their fellow African, Afrophobia, reserving the white people. And today, I've also watched the white people, they say, no, refugees are welcome. They are playing a double standard. So that in their leadership, they'll make a reference to say, Ramaphosa rejected you refugees. He did not support you, but we are calling you back because they are preparing for their leadership. Even you are quoted in your early leadership when you said, Ngabahambe. I heard it for myself. Until these other international organizations, they talked against you, Ramaphosa. You are a puppet to Zulu clan. And come out of that, if you are a leader indeed, stand above, stand aloof, and God is going to bless you. But if you want to maintain your leadership by following this nonsense of xenophobia against African people, God won't leave you alone. Even your wealth, you won't enjoy it. Come out of hiding. Be real. You have assets. You have mines. You have a ranch. You have everything that you need. You can even resign today and put ANC to support the EFF leadership. And the EFF, when they come, they'll clean up all this nonsense of xenophobia by uniting Africa. And that you would have done God a favor, and God will favor your retirement. and you are going to be saved as a hero in Africa. But now, if you want to line up yourself with xenophobia attack, thinking that you are going to preserve yourself, you are going to win the petition against your removal of immunity, against the Palapala saga, it will swallow you to the ground. Listen to this voice. I'm not here to be paid. I'm not here to be recognized, but I'm here to say Africa must unite. And if Africa unites, Africa, all Africans will enjoy the benefit of having a country which is a continent with resources. Right now, these divisions are planted strategically. In Nigeria, there are other divisions which parades the Muslim as though they are against Christians, which is a lie. There is no religion called Muslim that only kills Christianity for the sake of what? It's all political agendas. Hakainde in Zambia is being used against the opposition, the PF, because PF rejected homosexuality. PF rejected to take loans from IMF. So every country that every leaders that reject control from America, that government that takes over, they are funded to fight them. Look, today Hakainde Chilema has nothing to campaign because he spent his 4 years arresting people who are innocent and thinking that the arresting people who are innocent, everyone will be eating because all the opposition leaders are arrested. Everyone will be eating because Edgar Lungu, there's a case, the government is funding the case for Edgar Lungu to be buried in Zambia. When Edgar Lungu is buried in Zambia, and the economy will provide food for the Zambians, why taking political hatred as policy? Why taking African hatred, hating our own brothers here in Zimbabwe, here in Mozambique, here in Botswana, here in Namibia? We are all one family. The families, the children who are here, they are born, others they are married across. Why can't we unite as Africa? That's my appeal to you, President Cyril Ramaphosa. May God bless you. If you take this as a blessing, then take those precisely advice. Resign, hand over power to EFF, officially so. Let the ANC rely behind the EFF and let EFF unite South Africa with other countries. If you can't do it yourself, because it's almost too late, you have lost the touch. May God bless you.